Welcome to the Transparent FX Academy. If you're new to the channel, I'm Nick and I've been a top hodler on TradingView for many years, as well as being one of the only traders with a fully verified MyFXBook third-party track record. So if you want to elevate your trading, you're definitely in the right place. So subscribe to the channel, and without further ado, let's jump straight into it. So take a second, pause the video, read the disclaimer, and I will see you on the charts. In this video, I'll speak about EURUSD. Now, as usual, to keep the video as educational as possible, first I'll give you the technical aspect for this market, then I'll move to the commitment of traders analysis to see what institutions in the market are doing and how they are moving and shifting their orders, and then I'll put together these two different types of analysis. So this is definitely a video you do not want to miss. Now, starting here from the monthly time frame, what we can see is that we have a market which at the moment is testing and rejecting to the upside a quite strong historical monthly demand and support zone. In fact, from here, all these previous rejections to the upside have been created. So in multiple occasions in the past, the market has tested this zone and rejected it to the upside quite aggressively. And what we can see at the moment is that the market is testing this exact same zone and has already started rejecting it to the upside. So in a situation like this, more bullish price action could be expected away from this area, considering that these pushes to the upside again were fueled by strong institutional buying, and also the one that currently the market is creating. So the rejection away from this historical monthly demand and support zone is again fueled by strong institutional buying, as we will now see in just a few moments when we move to the commitment of traders analysis. So for the moment, let's keep all of this in mind and drop down on the weekly time frame. Now, from a weekly perspective, what we can notice here is that we just had a perfect inversion of structure and trend. The market went from the creation of weekly lower lows and lower highs, so we had a clear bearish trend, to now the creation of weekly higher highs and higher lows. So we had a perfect inversion of trend from a weekly bearish market to then a weekly bullish market. So from the creation of weekly lower lows and lower highs to now the creation of weekly higher highs and higher lows. What we can notice is that the inversion pattern in this case was exactly this double bottom created at the monthly demand and support zone that we have just identified a few seconds ago. And from there, the market has inverted the trend, and at the moment it is still in a bullish market from a weekly perspective. It is in fact currently testing previous weekly structure, which was structure resistance, and now it is turned structure support. Because what we know in the market is that a previous level of resistance, once it is broken to the upside, becomes support. So in this case, we had this previous level of resistance from which these two rejections to the downside were created. The market then broke above that zone, and that previous resistance started acting as support. The market is currently testing this previous weekly resistance turn support with good probabilities of rejecting it to the upside and finding institutional buyers at this area. So on the weekly, everything looks quite bullish. Let's keep that in mind. Just a quick interruption. Let me know in the comments below if you have any new pairs or topics that you would like me to cover in the next videos, because I'm always open to suggestions. And drop down on the daily time frame. Now, from a daily perspective, we can see that the market at the moment is facing the most important resistance zone. This was a previous level of daily supply and resistance from which all this push to the downside was created. Again, here the market tested its zone and rejected it to the downside. At the moment, the market is testing again this daily supply and resistance zone with a good probability of creating some bearish price action away from the area. So what we have to remember is that if this market is to continue higher and align itself with what it has on the monthly and weekly time frames, also here on the daily, we would need to see a break above this resistance, because only if we see a break above this resistance, only at that point, all this previous resistance becomes support here. So if we do see the break above this previous resistance, which at that point would become support, only at that point, we have good probability of seeing more institutional buyers step in, and at that point, push the price higher. So if we do see this break and retest of this previous resistance turn support, potentially bringing more institutional buyers, what would I expect? Well, first of all, we have to see what is going on when it comes to the commitment of traders. Because if we're looking at the data for the euro, we have to keep in mind that actually we are already looking at euro USD, because all currencies on the spot are traded against the USD. And what we can see here is that in the very long term, we went from a situation where we had a very low net positioning with 13,000 net positions, meaning that we had essentially a lot of shorts, 175k shorts, all the way down to now having 108k net positions. So a quite high net positioning, which means that shorts got decreased. In fact, they went from 175k all the way down to 134k. But most importantly, longs got massively increased on Euro USD from an institutional perspective. We went, in fact, from 188k longs all the way up to currently having 243k longs from an institutional perspective on the euro, therefore on Euro USD, because again, all currencies on the spot are traded against the USD. So if we're looking at the data for the euro, we are already looking at Euro USD. So let's keep all of this in mind and move back to the chart. So in a situation like this, if we will see the break above the previous resistance, at that point, that level would become support. And if we do see this break and retest, there is a good probability of seeing more institutional buyers at this previous level of resistance turn support, further increasing the probabilities of a potential rejection to the upside away from this area. And by the way, if you still haven't, make sure that you join my free Telegram channel, which you find linked in the description, so you never miss new updates. Now back to the analysis. So if we do see this break and retest, what would I expect? Well, as usual, and as my students know very well, trading is reactive and not predictive. The monthly, weekly, and daily timeframes combined with the COT data, those are the best timeframes when it comes to the directional aspect of the market. However, when it comes to identifying early shifts in the trend of a market, the best timeframes for that are the intraday timeframes, so 4 hour and lower. Therefore, what I would expect is that if this market would shift from an intraday bearish to a bullish market, I wouldn't be surprised to see a potential rejection to the upside away from this area for the market to complete this daily impulse correction and impulse pattern to the upside. That definitely wouldn't surprise me. Now, everything that you see me share here on YouTube is just the tip of the iceberg. In fact, if you want to learn more, I really suggest that you head over to my website, which you find linked in the description. Here, you have the possibility to gain access to the best mentorship program in the world. You can get all my courses ranging from the very basics of charting all the way to the more advanced topics. You also have the possibility to gain access to the trading station software with the Telegram notification integrations, one-on-one private mentoring directly with me, the COT data software, which is the software that you often see me use in my analysis, and you also have the possibility to gain access to the entertaining live trading show. So essentially a live stream of all my trades as they're happening live every day. So my entries, exits, how I manage the positions, all streamed live every single day essentially in this Telegram channel, which is obviously private just for members. You also have the possibility to gain access to all my EAs. So essentially all my strategies, which you can then customize to your own preference. And here you see breakdowns of each and every one of my strategies, including a 10-year historical backtest of the strategy on high quality tick data. So essentially backtested on live charts. So basically, I would suggest that you go and check these ones out. And if you continue to scroll down past the testimonials, you will see that you have the possibility to join and gain automatically access with the email and password that you will create during the checkout process. So I really suggest to at least go and check it out. The link is in the description and I will see you in it. If you enjoyed the video, make sure that you drop a like and a comment. It really helps with the creation of new free analysis and education, and I will see you in my next video.